Joining me in the studio this evening to talk about some of the big sports issues is sports commentator Ernest Opuni. Ernest, welcome to Global Sports Report. Let's start with boxing. 2 days away from the super fight, Mayweather versus Pacquiao. We saw the final news conference there and the traditional head-to-head. Which boxer, I know this is so difficult to say sitting here thousands of miles away, but which boxer would you say looked more relaxed? Because some are suggesting in the press that perhaps Mayweather was more subdued than normal, not involved in the normal trash talking as he normally does?
I'd go along with that, actually, because that's always been a staple part of his build-up into any fight. Now, maybe it is showing respect to someone he genuinely believes belongs in the ring with him and could pose a bit of a threat. Or it could just be that, actually, for the first time, he's actually concerned as to whether he's necessarily going to be able to guarantee that his O remains. Either way, he's not been the same kind of belligerent character that we've seen in the past.
And, you know, they're both legends, despite whatever happens on Saturday, whoever loses. But which boxer do you think has more at stake? You know, is it Mayweather because he's protecting his unbeaten record? He's never lost a fight, never been knocked down, whereas Pacquiao, a great career, but he's lost 5 or 6 times, hasn't he?
He has. I think he's got a couple of draws and 5 losses. My personal view, actually, is that Pacquiao probably will be affected a little less by losing this fight, as a result of which he can potentially go into it just focusing on leaving everything in the ring and actually not being quite sort of in any way inhibited by what the result means. I look at Mayweather and I get a sense of someone who's really fighting for his legacy. And increasingly, I'd say over the last 3 or 4 fights, it's felt as though protecting that O, protecting that undefeated record is starting to really weigh down on his shoulders an awful lot. He's had a very good career, no doubt. It's been very well managed, quite calculated, some people might say, in terms of who he's faced and when he has. But as he's got older, certain fighters like Maidana last time around, this is someone who I would have said once probably could not have hit him in the head with a handful of rice, was actually landing solid punches. He's now not able to control as much in a fight as he wanted to. And now he's actually coming up against Pacquiao, who's quite unpredictable in what he does. So I think there's some genuine concern for him, and I think he's more to lose.
OK, before we talk about you know, their legacy and where these two great boxers rank in terms of the history, talk about the styles of the two boxers. Mayweather is seen as a defensive genius, isn't he? Very difficult to get a glove on, whereas Pacquiao is a lot more aggressive, all action, always on the front foot. Are we going to see those styles in full force on Saturday night? I
think the first 3 rounds are critical, because I totally agree with you in terms of that juxtaposition between how they're both going to approach this. For me, I think if Floyd Mayweather is allowed to remain in his comfort zone, keep it as a very tactical, technical fight, isn't troubled beyond about the 3rd or 4th round, he's quite capable of shutting Pacquiao out in a situation where he just takes it through to 12 rounds. The flip side of that is if Pacquiao is able to impose the pace he wants on the fight without mistaking the required aggression for what could turn out to be a bit of carelessness, like he found out against Marquez when he actually ran into something. Because one of the things that, without a shadow of a doubt, Mayweather can produce is extensively damaging counterpunching. We see he did it against Hatton. That was a left hand that time. But I think the contrast in styles could potentially work better if Pacquiao actually dictates the pace. Then you start to get into a bit of a tear-up, a bit more of a slugfest.
A bit of a street fight. Now, obviously, that's something, as you said, Mayweather won't want. But if Pacquiao was to knock Mayweather early, not perhaps even knock him down, but, you know, get a good shot in and perhaps shake Mayweather, that would be almost a first, wouldn't it? And mentally, that could have some impact on Mayweather, couldn't it? Because we've never seen him having to recover from a big punch.
We've never seen him have to climb off the floor, for sure. We have seen his knees dip, though, when he fought Shane Mosley. In the 2nd round, he got caught a couple of times and had to cling on. Now, what he managed to do there was to actually adapt, and then he proceeded to then shut out, kept it at distance. Pacquiao potentially, if he gets in, will hit him more than twice. The speed, the pace, the unorthodox nature of the punches that Pacquiao will throw will actually provide Mayweather, I think, with a different problem to anything he's actually encountered. And if, in some regard, Pacquiao can actually do a better job than De La Hoya, which is actually put the pressure on but not run out of steam, I think he's got enough of an engine to really cause a problem for Mayweather. If Mayweather's waiting for him to run out of gas, he may well not do that. And if it's at Pacquiao's pace, then we might see Mayweather facing something he's not had to encounter before.
Fascinating. Let's talk about their legacy. Mayweather's gone on record saying that in his eyes he's the greatest, he's better than Ali.
Yeah.
Purely as fighters, is that a statement that can be tested, or is that a statement that deserves ridicule?
I wouldn't go as far as ridicule, but I think there's a bit of a juxtaposition between whether you go for a qualitative analysis or quantitative. Quantitative, 47-0 versus Ali's 56-5. You say, yes, Ali's lost 5 times. In terms of the qualitative assessment of their careers, what I would definitely say Mayweather has had is a much better managed career, in the sense that he's timed who he fights, when he wants to fight them. He's got big names on his card of the people he's beaten, but it's been usually when they're past their best. Ali took on all comers. He got in the ring with people he shouldn't probably be in the same postcode as.
Yeah.
And so for me, if you're talking about the pure warrior instinct, there's a reason why Ali lives in our hearts, and Mayweather's someone we admire with our heads. He's a technician, we admire him, but Ali put it on the line. And for me, if I look at both of their careers, I think there's a lot more authenticity about what Ali did.
And of course, the whole cultural significance of what Ali went through in terms of, fighting against the draft and Vietnam and whatever. Your quick prediction for the actual fight. I know you said before you didn't want me to put you on the spot, but just quickly,
yes.
How do you see this fight going? Do you think it will go all the distance? And if that is the case, will Mayweather prove the winner?
If it goes a distance, you would think it's 60-40 in favour of Mayweather. However, Pacquiao's someone that could potentially cause him problems for 12 rounds. My head says it's likely to be Mayweather. My heart somehow tells me that Pacquiao is the one person that could put him in a position. I'm probably going to feel a little daft for saying this if it doesn't quite work out, but I'm going to put my neck on the block and say I'm going to go with Pacquiao. OK,
we'll have to see if your prediction does indeed prove right. Ernest, pleasure having you here. We're going to still talk to you later in the show. Well, joining me once again in the studio this evening is sports commentator Ernest Opuni. Ernest, we heard the thoughts there, the lucid thoughts of Sir Sterling Moss, a legend, of course, in the world of Formula One. What did you have to say, or what do you make, rather, about his comments on the young drivers, and what can they learn from a figure like Sir Sterling Moss?
I think he's a throwback to the days. It was almost a bit of a Corinthian sport, wasn't it? And you look at the equipment that drivers now have, and the opportunity to actually effectively be talked around a circuit and computerised equipment and all that sort of stuff. I think if they want to learn anything from that time, it's about actually the sheer ultimate natural speed you can get.
We're going to have to leave it there. Ernest, thanks so much. That's all we have for you on this edition of Global Sports Report.